Here we are. Welcome. This section of the webinar this morning is on the nuts and bolts of Valley Serving Organization grant opportunities. We will go through all of the grant opportunities that are specific to the Valley. Please write your questions in the question and answer box, not the chat. Makes it a little easier for us to manage. We'll take questions at the end, or Stephanie may jump in with questions in between if she thinks they are timely. I'm Jackie Downing. I'm the Director of Grant Making and Nonprofit Support for the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven. I welcome you this morning and thank you for being here. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Valerie Knight-Ganji.
Thanks, Jackie. Good morning, everyone. I'm Valerie Knight-Ganji. I'm the Program Officer for the Valley Community Foundation, and I'm going to be talking to you first about the responsive grant process and competitive grant eligibility in general. Applicants must be tax-exempt organization under 501c3 or in any applicable section of the IRS code, or have a fiscal sponsor, except for our community grants process, which I'll be talking about in just a minute. Applicants must provide services in at least one town of the 20-town region or the 5 valley towns of Ansonia, Derby, Oxford, Seymour, and Shelton in order to be considered for a grant in this phase. Applicants must adhere to a policy of non-discrimination, and any applicant who is a previous recipient of a grant within the past 3 years must have submitted all required reports. Projects that typically do not receive consideration include religious activities, endowment campaigns, travel, previously incurred debts, and funding deficit. Requests for capital projects, building equipment, vehicles, and other depreciable items will be accepted only as part of the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven Small Grants Program or the Valley Community Foundation's Needs and Opportunities Program, and may include requests that are related to organizations managing the impact of COVID-19. Applicants who are past grantees must be in compliance with all grant reporting requirements. I don't think we have any questions yet, so I think we can keep moving on.
Thank you, Valerie. So these are the guiding principles that for grant making that we at the foundations look at. You will not see direct questions of these for these in any of the applications, but they really dictate all of the work that we do, and they're the lens through which we look at the viability of organizations, about the strength of organizations, and about our investments. The first is an organization's vision for the community. An organization has to have clear goals and objectives for how it's going to impact the community it serves during the term of the grant for which they're applying. And those goals and objectives have to be created by a planning process that includes stakeholders with lived experience. We want to make sure you're involving the people you serve in planning for your organization. We want to know that you're looking at the social and structural determinants of equity, and those are health access and quality, education access and quality, basic needs, social and community context, economic stability, neighborhood and built environment. You have to determine how your work and mission contribute to improving the social and structural determinants of equity. An organization has to be accountable. You have to be able to evaluate your work on an ongoing basis so that you understand the impact on the people you serve and the community that you serve. Your organization has to have a strong vision for itself, not only for its programs, but for goals and objectives for how to maintain or improve your governance, your management, your operations during the terms of the grant, and again, informed by a planning process. We look for a strategic plan. Do you have a strategic plan, and is your application responsive to that plan? Do you have a culture of diversity, equity, and inclusion? Policies and procedures that respect and advance DE&I within your organization? And does the membership of your board and your staff reflect the diversity of the community that you serve and the vitality of your organization? You have to have sound practices for financial management that includes a lens for sustainability in its planning. Are you planning ahead? What will happen when our funding ends? Will you be able to sustain what's been created under our funding? So as we move through the slides, we'll have to see which are the right processes for you. So think about the deadline or rolling process. There are some of these processes that you'll see that have deadlines. Some are ongoing applications. When can you be ready? What are the eligibility criteria? There are different things that you can be applying for as different size and type of organization. Are you listening for the things that are right for you? What level of funding do you need? Remember that as the grant award size goes up, so does the level of competition. So apply for what you need. If you can achieve your goals with a smaller grant, consider a process that might give you a faster and more favorable answer. What type of funding is needed? Responsive is all general operating support, but there are the neighborhood grants, there's the needs and opportunities, sponsorships that are different. So listen for the different types of funding and make sure you're fitting in where you need. When is the funding needed? Sometimes they're along with application deadlines, there are also different turnaround times. So listen for how long it takes to turn the application around. Remember, previously incurred expenses can't be charged to grants, so think ahead. If you're doing a summer program, you won't be able to wait for a responsive grant answer in July in order to launch that program. And are you looking for 1 year or multi-year funding? Responsive is a multi-year process. Most are 2 or 3 years in their awards. If you want this kind of stability and an ability to plan, that may be your best option. But if you need a little more flexibility, you may want to come in for a 1 year and be able to plan ahead at a different time. So this is a list of grants that's available to organizations that are both New Haven and Valley-based. These are our combined processes. The responsive grants, the deadline is February 24th. Animal shelter grants, these are for organizations, nonprofit, independent organizations, not municipal entities that provide shelter to animals. Racial equity and creative healing through the arts grants, the BIPAC Cohort for nonprofit leadership, and the consultant support program. We'll talk more about each of these as we go through the slides, but these are the ones that are for all organizations, both New Haven and Valley-based, and these are the guidelines under which they operate.
Thank you, Jackie. Now I'm going to talk specifically about competitive grant opportunities for Valley-based organizations only. Our community grants process is open now. The application is up on the website and the deadline is March 4th at 5 o'clock. The application will close at 5 o'clock. It is a hard stop. Please make sure that you have all of your application ready and are not trying to really experiencing any challenges towards the end, because it will shut you out after 5. Valley sponsorships are very similar to what the sponsorship program is like for the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven. There is an ongoing application process for that, as well as needs and opportunities, and for the response and recovery program. Right now, the current focus for the Valley COVID-19 Response and Recovery Fund is on vaccination support. You can see that on the slide. But if there is a specific need that you have or that your organization is working with, please feel free to contact me to discuss further, as I can bring that information back to the fund review committee. Our community grants program provides access to support from the VCF for small grassroots programs that are mostly volunteer and neighborhood groups. The group applying needs to have a checking account in place. And as you can see on the slide, we are really looking for organizations that are doing great civic engagement work, really bringing the community together to make the Valley a better place. It is available to organizations that are based in our Valley communities of the Ansonia, Derby, Oxford, Seymour, and Shelton, or whose majority of the services are performed in these towns. And it's available to organizations with 2 or fewer full-time equivalent staff members. Examples of prior support include, but are not limited to, funds for neighborhood cleanups, support for community gardens, elderly and parent activities, and youth engagement process. Organizations do not have to be a 501c3 or equivalent for this process, but you do need to have a checking account in place. Currently, we are in process of getting the information up for additional information about community grants. We are trying to post that information out on our website. So please make sure that if you have any specific questions, you can certainly contact me. There is up to $2,500 per group available for community grants. The deadline is March 4th, as you see, and applications are up on our website. Our needs and opportunities grant process are for innovative and ongoing programs and emergency needs, again, available to our 5 Valley communities. And organizations here must be a 501c3 or equivalent, or must find a fiscal sponsor. As you can see, there is up to $10,000 available. Grants are usually between $250 and $10,000 and are accepted throughout the year and are typically acted on within a 60-day time frame. Our sponsorships are for one-day events, again, for the Valley towns previously described. Organizations must be 501c3 or equivalent, must find a fiscal sponsor. There is up to $2,500 per organization per year for sponsorships available. So let's say you have an event that is going to happen, one in the spring, one in the fall, and you need support for both of those events. You could theoretically come in for $1,000 in the spring, $1,500 in the fall, because you would be eligible for up to $2,500 per year for your individual organization. There are rolling applications, as you can see on the slide. The one thing that we would ask is that you would come to us at least 60 days in advance for your sponsorship, because it takes a while for the application to go through our process. And we want to make sure that we're not coming right before your event deadline, so that we can get any materials over to you as far as our logo or any other information you need from us, so that you can use it in your promotional materials. We also would say that people have been asking us about virtual events. Absolutely. We understand that because of COVID, a lot of events have been moved to virtual platforms. Please feel free to consider us for that as well. So either in person or virtual, making sure that all CDC guidelines are being followed, all social distancing guidelines are being followed, and again, for one-day events. The Valley COVID-19 Response and Recovery Fund is a partnership with the Valley Community Foundation, the Valley United Way, the Greater Valley Chamber of Commerce, and the Valley Council for Health and Human Services. It was created right after the start of the pandemic. And as you see on the slide, again, it is a rolling process. Answers are received and the answers are usually given to organizations in approximately 60 days from when we receive your application. Grants are typically ranging from 1K to 5K, and they're available to 501c3 organizations or those with fiscal nonprofit sponsors serving our 5-town region again. Right now, the specific focus, as I've mentioned before, is on work or expenses relating to the rollout and administration of COVID-19 vaccinations. However, I just want to make you aware of the fact that if there is other work that you are doing that is COVID-19 specifically related, that I would encourage you to come into that process, or at least to contact me, so that I can bring your idea to the Fund Review Committee for consideration, and then we would have you fill out an application. Please feel free to visit thevalleyfoundation.org for more details. And nearly $200,000 so far has been given out of this fund since it was created.
We do have a question that has come in through the chat. What if organizations are partnering on a special program or event? Does that count towards the amount?
So it depends on who the applicant is. For instance, if the applicant is coming in under themselves, it would count towards their individual organization's amount for the $2,500. If not, then so you would have to work with whoever you are partnering with to make the decision as to who should best file the application with us in terms of what other events that you might be working on individually with your own org, not as partnering through the rest of the year.
Thank you, Valerie. That's all the questions we have for right now.
Thanks, Steph.
Thanks, Steph. So now we'll move on to other programs. The consultant support program. Consultant support program is for short-term projects for building capacity of an organization, for including work in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So this could be a consultant, a thought partner, just to come in and give some advice on fund development. It could be a board training. It could be a staff training on any type of project that you need to make your organization stronger. This funding can cover the consultant's time and some other out-of-pocket expenses. An organization can come in one time in 2022. If they got a consultant support program grant in 2021, you can come back in 2022. It's limited funding. It will provide about 15 hours of a consultant's time. If it's someone who's coming from our roster, we do have a list of consultants that we've vetted. You can also use your own consultant as long as they agree to work at an hourly rate. Our hourly rate at this point is $125 per hour. There is some flexibility to that if you have someone who wants to work at a higher rate than that, but the hours will be limited. The funding does not increase. So if you would like to know more about the consultant support program, you can reach out to Stephanie, Valerie, or me about the consultant support program. And we applying for support with this program will not impact your eligibility for any other grant program. The BIPAC Cohort for Nonprofit Leadership. This is for 10 to 12 people in 2022. This program is a 2-year training program for middle management, people of color who are currently employed by nonprofits who aspire to be executive directors. It is for mobility, employment mobility within the nonprofit sector. This is not designed for someone who started their own nonprofit, who is a founder, who wants to make their organization stronger. We have other ways that we can support that. This is for mobility within the sector. I've got a middle level job and I want the big chair. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for folks who are dedicated to nonprofit service, dedicated to our 20-town region, who are going to stay here and work in our community. The application comes from the person, not the organization, but there is a 2-year grant that goes to the organization that currently employs the person so that they can release some time and give the person the flexibility to be able to participate in the training program. The first year is a 9-month course with UConn that offers extensive training. It meets bi-weekly, offers extensive training over the course of 9 months, and also offers opportunity for undergraduate or graduate credit and a scholarship if one chooses to continue learning through UConn. The grants for racial equity and creative healing through the arts are created to help support creative and equitable recovery in our region. We hope to be able to give artists a living wage to be able to perform their art. It can be for individual artists or for nonprofit organizations or collectives of artists. You do not have to be a nonprofit for this particular grant. It has to be an organization that has is an arts organization or has a history of arts programming. So if you're starting a new arts program or something new within your organization, this is not the program for you. It has to be someone with a history. We are looking for projects that break down racism, support learning for youth, and provide opportunity for collective mourning, comfort, and healing. both from the effects of racism in our community and from the effects of COVID-19. The application opens on February 1st, and you have to apply by May 2nd. The first stage is a simple Google Doc that will go to the Arts Council of Greater New Haven. There is a combined panel of artists, arts administrators, and arts patrons from the Valley and from New Haven, who will look at the original applications that come in and decide what fits within the program. The grants are between $5,000 and $20,000 per year, and it's a 2-year grant. Depending on the volume, the panel will be able to review the applications and give us decisions by June or July. The nonprofit animal shelter grants. These are for any organization. And this does have to be 501c3, not a municipal entity, but an independent organization that gives shelter to animals. So you don't have to have a shelter in it per se, but you have to give shelter to animals. This was created by the Conopackey Fund here at the Community Foundation. The average grant size is $3,000 to $5,000. It can be a new or existing program, and you can use it for organizational building, for capital, or for program expenses.
Thank you, Jackie. And we just want to bring your attention to the login screen for all of the online applications for Valley grants for people to be able to access our Blackbaud system. Many of you have already done this and are quite familiar with what the login screen looks like. That is a sample of it on the slide in front of you. However, if you have not applied to either the Valley Community Foundation or the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven since July 1st of 2019, you will need to create a new account and a new password. Your existing account and password are no longer active. All of our applications are posted on our websites, and the Valley Community Foundation's website or the Community Foundation's for Greater New Haven website are available by accessing, just generally go into the website, and you will go into impacting the community and clicking on the application links. Organizations must complete an application for consideration in any of our grant processes. There is an eligibility quiz that you will have to take in order to participate. And we strongly encourage the fact that when you are applying for a grant, as Jackie and I have hopefully gone through this with you throughout this portion of our presentation this morning, for you to understand exactly which application you're going to be applying to, and then make sure that you have completed all of the questions that we have asked in the application itself. We're just checking to see if there's any questions. Stephanie, if you could just let us know. I don't know if we have any that we need to address.
No, we don't have any questions at this time.
Perfect.
Okay. Then we'll go on to this resource slide. Then these are the folks that are your main points of contact if you should have any questions throughout your process. If you have general questions, you can reach out to Sarah Fabish. She's pretty hard to reach, but try. By email is the best way to reach all of us. We are working remotely. We are not in the office, so please make the first step by email. Denise Canning can answer those technical questions about using the Blackbaud system. Please reach out to her if you have general questions or technical support for the application system. You can reach out to me for the arts grants, the BIPAC cohort, the consultant support program, or general questions, and also about financials. If you have questions about financial statements, I can be very helpful. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Valley, it's her middle name. All things Valley. She also answers any general questions about any program, as well as the consultant support program. Reach out to her for your questions there. Kara Strawn is all about reporting. So if you are not sure whether you've complied with putting all of your final reports in for all of previous grants you've received, Kara can give you that answer. It's also happy to help you with your outcomes. So if you're drafting outcomes and you're not quite sure if you've hit the mark with telling your story, please run them by Kara. Give her time. Don't wait till the deadline. Give her time and run them by Kara so that she can take a look at that. And Stephanie Chung will give you everything she can to help you and support you through creating your Give Grader profile, which needs to be done for the responsive process, which I think you can do for any reason because it's a great resource for donors and you want to be there. She's also one of the partners in the consultant support program, so she can help you through an application for that. And those are your resources for today. So thank you very much for being with us. Val, I'll turn it over to you to close.
Thank you so much, Jackie. And those of you who know me, I've always been Val, the Valley Grants gal. So it's perfectly fine that, you know, Jackie called me Valley. It's my middle name indeed. So don't hesitate at all to reach out to me with any specific questions you have for any of our Valley Grants processes. And I know that Jackie and Stephanie and all of the folks that are listed on the resource page would be more than happy to answer any specific questions that you might have, depending on what the individual topic area is. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to receiving your applications in the future. Have a great day.